Good evening, friends, and welcome to the Steamworks Spirit Station. My name is Greg. I'm your host for this weekly adventure of great music and hopefully a little inspiration to encourage our living and help us to do it a little bit better and get along with each other at a time that we really need to. I am thrilled because we've had a number of illnesses and cancellations and juggling things in the schedule recently, and that's true what's happened tonight too. Gregg Stone was going to be here 2 weeks ago, and it turns out I got sick as well, so we had to cancel, as some of you would know. But he was signed up to do that then. We got a cancellation for tonight, and so I called him first. I told him that if we get another cancellation, you're going to be the first one I call. And so he was ready for that, and he is here. Gregg Stone is a great guitarist, a great singer, songwriter. You're going to hear a lot more from him during these couple of sets that he's going to do. And because it's Easter, I wore a purple shirt, but more than that, we want to talk a little bit about Easter, about the meaning of it, but not from a distant kind of thing. It's a lot more about us than people might realize. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But right now, let's get right into the music. And please welcome Gregg Stone.
Thank you, everybody. It's always nice to be back here, and anytime Greg asks me to do this, I'm more than happy to do it. I'm going to do a lot of songs tonight that are pretty much brand new. I always try to do things that I haven't done before when I come here. And that's been pretty easy lately because I find myself writing about a song a week or so. And so I've got some things here that you didn't hear the last time I was here. And I'm going to start off with one that is almost brand new. It's called Thankful for the Rains. Clouds are drumming up some thunder, and lightning dances across the sky. Even though most others run for cover, I'm not one to duck inside and hide. I move along among the raindrops and let the puddles soak my shoes. Finally take them off and just go barefoot, thankful for the rains that wash away the blues. Mothers cover up their children as if they're so sweet they'll melt. Dogs drugged by their owners down the sidewalk, 'cause we all know how bad a wet dog smells. As for me, I'm happiest in downpours. I'll raise my face to the darker hues, drinking all the heavens have to offer, thankful for the rains that wash away the blues. So don't complain about the weather. Take a look around and you'll see troubles flowing right into the gutter, carried by the waters washing me. When you hear a storm is coming, step outside, take in the view. Just feel the life that has been given, and be thankful for the rains that wash away the blues. Thought that was appropriate for the this week coming up, I understand we're going to get a lot of rain, so we might as well enjoy it while we can. This next song, I've been doing some research and trying to find songs based on folklore. And I was looking for folklore that people don't know anything about. And we know, there's usually folklore from, England and Ireland and places like that, and some American folklore too. But there's Caribbean folklore too, and there's a character in the Caribbean folklore that really intrigued me when I read about them. His name is Baco. And Baco, let me just indulge me for a moment here, because the song will make a lot more sense when you hear this. Baco is a mischievous, dwarf-like spirit from the Caribbean folklore, often described as a 3-foot-tall creature with a large head, big eyes, and long limbs. Known as bottle imp, they are believed to be found in sealed rum bottles, bringing wealth and luck to owners who feed them bananas and milk, but wreaking havoc if neglected or mistreated. This is my song about Baku. Shiny object floats under the morning sky. Reach down for that bottle to meet the ocean's rise. Pull the cork and watch as something crawls outside. Impish little devil with unseeing eyes. I try to run away, but it holds me there. He says stay, feel the magic in the air. I stood frozen in his mesmerizing stare. Then this trickster's name was laid bare. They call him Baku, the banana genie of the sea. Bottled up for centuries, until that bottle got to me. Now he's free, Baku, Baku. Thanked me for his release, said I got a deal for you. But something in his voice warned me not to take his cue. He say I make all your wildest dreams come true. All you have to do is keep me happy too. They call him Baku, the banana genie of the sea. Bottled up for centuries, until that bottle got to me. Baku, Baku. Now it wasn't easy keeping him happy. And when he wasn't, he made life so bad for me. So while he slept, I picked up his home so quietly. Plugged the cork and threw that bottle back into the sea. Bye bye, Baku, Baku. Bye bye bye, Baku, Baku. I was playing around with this chord progression and wanted to write something very simple and at the same time powerful. This is about loss, about losing losing someone that you love. Not through anything more than you being dumb and letting her go. This one's called She's Gone. Can you hear it? Westbound whistle blow. Can you hear it? A mournful sound so low. Well, I missed it. Should be sitting on that train. And she's gone. Can you see it? Headed out into the night. Can you see it? Love is rolling out of sight. Well, I missed it. I should be sitting on that train. And now she's gone. She's gone. Can you feel it? My heart lies bleeding on the red. Can you feel it? The pain I felt when our love faded. Well, I missed it. I should be sitting on that train next to her. Now she's gone. She's gone. Thank you. It's a little different for me. So you just heard about somebody losing someone that they loved, a breakup song, if you will. Here's another breakup song. This guy, though, doesn't really care at all that he lost her. This one's a little more fun, to say the least. I'm not going to tell you the title because it'll give it away. Well, I knew the end was coming before you said we're through. When I saw my stuff on the front porch, tossed out there by you, the signals weren't so subtle. You made it very clear the only thing you wanted was me out of here. You thought you'd break my spirit, you thought my mind would bend, but what you didn't know was I was ready for the end. Darling, getting over you was easier than you think. No need to cry, I don't wanna die, I didn't have to start to drink. fall was not so far, you know, when we fell apart. In no time I'll be alright. It's just a hairline fracture of my heart. Now there is no medication a doctor needs to prescribe. The only thing that broke was just a small piece of my pride. No longing for affection, nothing seems to ache. Losing you is something that was easy enough to take. You thought I'd never make it, I wouldn't last a day. But what you didn't count on was I didn't want to stay. Darling, getting over you was easier than you think. No need to cry, don't wanna die. I didn't have to start to drink. The fall was not so far, you know, when we fell apart. In no time I'll be alright. It's just a hairline fracture of my heart. You thought my will would break in two and I'd hit the wall. But what you didn't know was it didn't hurt at all. Darling, getting over you was easier than you think. No need to cry, I don't wanna die. I didn't have to start to drink. The fall was not so far, you know, when we fell apart. In no time I'm gonna be alright. It's just a hairline fracture to my heart. Thank you. So I was in church a few weeks ago, and the sermon included Psalm 130. And Psalm 130 has a line in it that is a repeated line. I want to make sure I get it right. Not to cut into your ballywig, Greg.
Fear not.
Okay, all right. One of the verses of the psalm has this repeated line in it. It says, "I wait for the Lord, my whole being waits, and His word, in His word I put my hope. I wait for the Lord more than watchmen wait for the morning, more than watchmen wait for the morning." That line that's repeated at the end of that verse hit me as something that would be an idea, a good idea about somebody who is trying to find his way. And maybe somebody who never went to church and started going. It's a little autobiographical, perhaps. So this is called "Like a Watchman Waiting for the Dawn." He sat down in the back row, having come in here so late, never having time before to hear the word, till he came upon a time that made his life so hard. Knew to get to heaven he'd need more. A few things in the sermon made some sense of things, so he vowed he would return in coming weeks. He was hoping he would find a new direction that could lead him to salvation he did seek. A man who surely needed some redemption, who thought that any hope he had was gone. A sinner looking for a light to end his darkness, like a watchman waiting for the dawn. He came came to understand the lessons that were shared, though it took a while to change the life he lived. He thought he had fallen too many steps behind from the chance to be forgiven from his sins. But Jesus gives us comfort, and Jesus gives us strength, delivers us from evil, redeems us in His grace. Then one Sunday morning, underneath the sun's bright rays, the psalm was 1:30, and the light was seen that day. Understanding transformed into rebirth as his soul that day found its way. A man who surely needed some redemption, who thought that any hope he had was gone. A sinner looking for a light to end his darkness, like a watchman waiting for the dawn. Like a watchman waiting for the dawn. I'm going to turn things over to Pastor Gregg. I should have warned you ahead of time.
This is about Easter. This is about this celebration that's happening all around us. The week actually began on Sunday with what they call Palm Sunday. And in church circles, what they do is they celebrate the final days of Jesus, both his execution and then his resurrection. And on Palm Sunday, that is the first day of the week. Sunday is the first day of the week in the Jewish culture. And so in our culture here in the United States, it begins on Monday. That's the first day back to work, right? Well, Saturday, the Sabbath was Saturday, and you weren't allowed to do any work on Saturday. And that would end in the evening. It would start on Friday night, which is why a lot of the during the Lenten season, you've got all those fish fries and everything for dinner. The celebration begins on Friday night, not on Saturday. And then it ends on Saturday evening, so the first day of the week is Sunday. So on Sunday then, Jesus entered the city of Jerusalem, and there was great celebration from a lot of the people that had known him, heard him, followed him. They were celebrating because they thought that he was the king, the Son of God, and was going to be the king, and everything was going to change in Jerusalem during that week while he was there, which is the biggest holiday for the Jewish culture because they celebrate the Passover. That was the day that the Israelites were freed from slavery in Egypt, and that began the whole journey of their becoming a nation. So that was a huge celebration, and they figured it's appropriate that Jesus would become king during that week. So they waved palms to welcome him, and they put him down like a carpet as he entered the city. Now that was one of the beginning of the thing. There are several events that happen through the week, and a lot of the churches will be observing a lot of different things this week. A lot of times there will be a celebration on Thursday. Maundy Thursday is what it's called. It's the beginning of the crucifixion on Good Friday. Friday, there's a lot of worship services that take place. Saturday, usually there isn't too much going on, but then Sunday is the glorious celebration of the resurrection. Now, that's good for church people. For people who don't have a clue about any of that, that could be a little bit challenging. What is that all about? Why is this? What's going on? And I think that there's more to it than a lot of people know or think about. And so I want to talk about Jesus a little bit. It's not just about Jesus. And I want to try to make that clear tonight. It's a way of celebrating, but it's a way of inner appreciation more than it is the waving of palms and dancing around and stuff. This is more about like listening to a great piece of music. It's like appreciating and enjoying and taking in, I think, is really important for this season and for this holiday. So it's going to be different than what you might find in church, but then I'm known for that. So I want to talk about Jesus' life. It's an interesting story. He was born, and if you know the stories of Christmas, it's a very miraculous story about how he was conceived and how he was born. And there was a lot of glory. We celebrate Christmas in this real romantic setting and all the angels singing and the shepherds coming and all of that stuff. But there were wise men that were coming, and they didn't know exactly where the child was that they came to visit. All they knew is there was a star that had appeared, and they wanted to follow it because that was their tradition. And they followed it all the way to Jerusalem, but they didn't know where to go from there. And so they go to the king and they say, "Where is the new king born?" Well, the king wasn't too psyched to hear that there was a new king born. He wasn't too psyched to hear about the fulfillment of a prophecy. They had to look back and try to find out what the prophecy was. King wasn't too happy about that. So what he did was he said, "Let me know where he is when you find him." Okay? So as soon as he's born, you have this miraculous manger story, but then immediately thereafter, you hear about these wise men and this story of the king wanting to know what it is. Now, what the Bible doesn't tell you too clearly is right after that, he orders the soldiers to go and kill the firstborn of everyone they can find. And the idea was to destroy this king and to protect his own kingdom. He did not want to lose his authority. And so in the very beginning of his life was in danger of execution. And so what happened is Joseph and Mary left Israel for a while, and they returned later. When he comes to about the age of 30, somewhere thereabouts, he begins his ministry, and the first thing that happens is he's challenged by the devil. He is challenged by temptation about how to do the job that he's been asked to do. And he thought about all the different things he could do and all the different ways that he could do it. And in his wrestling with the devil, he says, "This is not right, this is not right, this is not right, this is the appropriate way, this is what I'm going to do." And literally in the story in the scripture, he defeats Satan because of the choices that he made about how he was going to go about being the Savior. Now, he starts off, he gathers some guys, his close-knit friends that he had known all growing up. He knew these guys that lived along the Sea of Galilee, and they had fished together, I'm sure, played together, grown up together. And then he says, "Okay, I need some guys to go with me. Would you come?" And of course, his closest friends said, "Of course we'll go with you." And he begins his ministry. He goes to preach in the synagogue. He gets to read the scripture. Now, I remember what that was like when I was young, when I was growing up. I remember what it was like when someone asked you to read the Bible in the worship service. At that time, that was a big deal. And to be the one to read the scripture was a really important thing. I'm guessing that was similar to what it was like for Jesus. He gets the scripture and he reads the story of the prophet Isaiah. And he says, "Today this has been fulfilled in your hearing." Well, that shocked everybody. What do you mean by that? Who do you think you are? You're not a scribe, you're not an authority, you're not a leader, you're not a rabbi. What do you think? And they kicked him out of the synagogue. And he wasn't allowed to preach in the synagogue. He wasn't allowed to be there anymore. You hear all this promise, and then he gets shot. Oh, come on, what's going on? He goes around preaching everywhere. He preached in the streets. He preached in the homes. He preached on the side of the sea. He preached wherever he was going. And people heard that and followed him. And he became very, very popular. But if you read the scriptures, and this is the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all tell some of the same story. They're not all exactly the same. But they tell the stories from different points of view. And what happens is, he is challenged and criticized and argued with by scribes and religious leaders and rabbis and rulers. They are arguing with him and they're raising questions and they decide they want to trap him all along his ministry for 3 years. The tradition says that he died at age 33, so that's where we get the 3 years from. And during that course of ministry, the crowds are loving what they're hearing. They're following him. It's like blessing their lives. And it's not just a story that is something they think about. It's a story about how to live and how to live effectively and how to have God more intimate with your life so that you feel better and work better and know yourself better, not being challenged by all the garbage that happens around you. Learning how to live effectively and to live well, to live with strength and with courage and conviction, and not to allow the negative things to break you down or destroy you, which is pretty important stuff, I think. There's an awful lot of people I see today that are pretty victimized. A lot of people that are victimized by issues of money, they're divided by issues of politics, they're fearful about what's happening in the Middle East, they're worried about the cost of gasoline and the cost of groceries and everything else. There's a lot of people that are living like victims today. And this is not the way Christ taught people how to live. They said it's not about the stuff that's going on around you, it's about how you live in it and how you live through it. And that's what I've been teaching my whole career. So he gets challenged and argued with and fought with, and then when he's coming up to the end, when he's coming up to the crucifixion, he's coming up to Jerusalem, and all the fans are celebrating and waving palms, but there are people that are conspiring about how they're going to end him, how they're going to take care of this, how they're going to just wipe it out. And they, ultimately, on Good Friday, they execute him. While he is on the cross, you would think that he'd be thinking about the pain he is suffering. You'd think he'd be wondering and fearful and talking to God while that's going on. But he looks down and he sees his mother and some of the women that had been following and been with him all the time, and his first thought was to care for them. And he looks down and he says, today you're going to be with me in paradise. And people, I'm sure, laughed at that. The Roman soldiers thought that was really crazy because they know he's going to croak here any second. But there were two other guys that were killed at the same time that he was. And one of them says, don't make fun of him. He is the Son of God. And he says, when you come into your kingdom, would you please remember me? He didn't even ask to go with him. He simply asked, please remember me. Be kind to me when this all gets realized. I realize who you are. And I ask for a tiny little favor. If you'd just remember me, it would honor my life. And Jesus says, today you will be with me in paradise. Well, I don't think that thief could have understood that or even believed it. It would be too great to even imagine that I could be there too. And that was the promise that Jesus gave from the cross before he died. Now, I'd like you to think about that for a second, because what are the problems that we go through in the course of our lives? How many different challenges do we have to face? How many struggles? How many difficult decisions? How many conflicts? How many arguments? How many people that are self-serving and put us down or try to use us as tools for their own benefit? How many people are there that don't care about truth, they don't care about integrity, they don't care about honesty, they don't care about people? They are only in it for themselves or what they think or what they feel or what they want. And so they're treating others badly along the way. And they really don't care about how the people feel or what happens to them along the way. We have to live in the midst of that world, don't we? We have to live in the midst of that kind of conflict and struggle all the time. We don't think of it in these spiritual terms, but this is the example of Jesus. That it's not about the opposition, it's not about the difficulty or the conflict, it's not about the struggle or the burden, it's not about the danger, it's not even about death. It's about living with a conviction of God and feeling certain about it. And even at the very end when he dies, there's an initial thought of fear and anxiety and concern about what happens now. And anybody who was a follower would be scared to death about what the Roman soldiers are going to do next. And all the religious leaders, the scribes and the Pharisees, they would have seen him following him. They would have seen him living with him and walking with him. And so they would have been fearful, I would think, about their lives and what was going to happen to them. I would, wouldn't you? Even then, there is not to be a fear that controls your lives. It's a natural emotional experience. But what happens is Jesus comes back to see them. And this is the story of Easter. It's not really just about his being honored and going up to heaven. It's not about that. It's about the fact that he comes back and reminds them that he is victorious over all. And so can we be. It's not just about Jesus, it's about us. It's about how we make it through our challenges and struggles and how we go through our celebrations and what it means to love and care for one another, what it means to get along and to build community through or in spite of the circumstances that are happening around us, and to believe in it so surely that nothing and no one can diminish it. It means becoming what they call convicted. And it's not just about saying Jesus is Lord or anything like that. It's not about saying, okay, I accept Jesus as my Savior. That's the first spot. It's not the last step. It is the beginning of saying, I'm going to let this way of life become my own. And I want to follow that. I want to be like that. I want to be a person of peace. I want to be a person of joy. I want to be a person of confidence. I want to be sure of this stuff, and I want to make my way through it as best I can. If I can find humor, if I can find something to bring cheer, if I can help people to rise above their woe, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And that's not about preachers. That's about all of us. It's about anyone who wants to follow him. And if you think about it, the apostles were just the beginning. When they gathered together in the upper room, which is part of the story from Maundy Thursday, there was 120 people in the room. It wasn't just about the 12. It was about all those that followed and wanted to be close to him and became close to him. And it was in the midst of all of that. I mean, I hate to dispel some people's illusions, but on Maundy Thursday, when he tells the disciples, whoever dips his bread with me is my betrayer, there's 120 people in the room. How is anybody going to be able to tell who did and who didn't and who it was? They weren't able to tell that. They only found out about that later. It's easy to not see what's happening in a crowd. And so they are in our midst. But that is not what our focus is. What his focus was caring for each of them. He washed all of their feet. He said, I've done that for you, so I want you to do that for everybody around you. It's not just washing the feet with water and a towel. It's about caring for the people around you in whatever way you can, in any circumstance, at any time. And if we start gearing ourselves that way, it becomes glorious. Now, I want to make this clear in Scripture, because this is the story as it actually is, and I thought I'd read it in the actual original way. From Matthew 28, and then from John 21 through 25, chapter 21, verses 24 and 25. I'm going to go straight through that. After the Sabbath, as the first day of the week was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. And suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descending from heaven came and rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing was white as snow. For fear of him, the guards shook and became like dead men. But the angel said to the women, "Do not be afraid, for I know that you're looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He's not here, for he's been raised, as he said. Come see the place where he lay, then go quickly and tell his disciples he has been raised from the dead, and indeed he is going straight ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. This is my message for you." So they left the tomb quickly, with fear and with great joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them and said, "Greetings." And they came to him and took hold of his feet and worshipped him. And Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers and sisters to go to Galilee. There they will see me." He repeats the message of the angel. That's a confirmation. Yeah, okay, I'll go to Galilee. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm not going to miss it. While they were going, some of the guard went into the city and told the chief priests everything that had happened. After the priests had assembled with the elders, they devised a plan to give a large sum of money to the soldiers, telling them, "You must say his disciples came by night and stole him away while we were asleep. You must say, if this comes to the governor's ears, we will satisfy him and keep you out of trouble." So they took the money and did as they were directed, and this story is still told among the Judeans to this day. Even after death, they're still trying. I think that's kind of funny. You can imagine these soldiers. It happened through no fault of their own. There was nothing they could do about it. It was amazing that they told the truth and went and told these leaders. But then you see the corruption of the leaders. "We'll give you all this money. You just don't tell anybody. Tell them that it was this story." And they say, "Okay, but imagine what would happen if the truth came out. Who would accept them? Who would believe them? They would have been done. They would have been out of here." Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, as they were told, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshipped him, but some still doubted. After all, they saw him die. It's kind of hard to imagine to live after that. No one's ever done that before. And Jesus came and said to them, "All authority in heaven has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of this age." Now, can you hear it? It's not about his life. It's not about his death. It's not even about his resurrection. It's about you and me. going forth and living, sharing the good news, sharing all that we have learned, sharing all that we have loved, sharing what faith really means. And as we do so, the promise is that Jesus is with us through all of that. So every problem we have, and every challenge we have, and every argument we face, and every difficulty we have to bear, and every hardship we have to go through, remember Jesus is with us. And if God is with us, who's against us? It can't be the storm that's going to happen at midnight. It better not happen early. I got to go home and, I don't want to rain on. But, it's going to come. And I know it's going to come. This happened when the snow came. It happened when the ice came. We made it through that, didn't we? We have made it through everything that has happened up till now. And God has been with us through all of that. And it's not about just the faithful. It's not just about the people that are in church. God has helped even the people who don't know him yet. God has helped everybody in the community. God has helped the nation. God helped the world. And this is the nature of God's love. It is universal. It is eternal. And so what he's telling us to do is to help share the good news so that people can rejoice and celebrate in it. That they can have peace of heart and mind, joy of spirit, and not fear again. This is what it's about. It's about living. Oh, yeah, it doesn't mean that you won't have the emotion. It means that you will have more courage than the fear that you feel. And this is really important for people to know. Now, it comes to John 21, the last couple verses in the whole Gospel of John is this. This is the disciple who is testifying to these things and has written them, and we know that his testimony is true. But there are also many other things that Jesus did. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. That's true. It's absolutely true. Why? Because he's still writing them. He's writing them in you. He's writing them in me. He's writing them in people all around us. The stories of God and grace are all around us. Right now in the holiday season, I have seen more charity ads on TV than I have seen in most of the year. Have you noticed that? Think about the people we're helping, the animals we're helping. Think about the hospitals that we're supporting. Think about the needs that are going out there, the expressions of love and care and charity and kindness going out everywhere. And people are responding with heart. And I've noticed too on social media, how many of the things that the videos that you see on social media are charming and cheerful, sometimes with children, sometimes with animals, but really good and uplifting and encouraging stories. They may not be real. I don't know if they're real or not. I don't know how you tell. But I rejoice in seeing it because it may not be real, but it is certainly hope. It is certainly love. It is warmth all around and encouragement in the middle. And I've noticed on television, on the cable channels, they have all kinds of humorous stories that they're showing. Humorous movies, humorous TV shows, humorous vignettes, all kinds of things that are trying to uplift and to encourage in the midst of these difficult times. You think God might be a part of that? They may not have realized at the time. They may have only recognized the need. They may have only recognized how lonely people were, how fearful they were, and how things are so uncertain. And they say, what can we do about that? Let's help them laugh. Let's help them smile. Let's help them care. Let's help them think beyond themselves or their problems. Let's help them to be all that they can be. If that's not stories of Jesus, I don't know what is. Because it is eternal, it is ever present, it is in us, it is around us, and it is through us. And this is what it means for me, at least, to be a Christian. A person who follows Jesus, incorporates the teachings of Jesus, and finds the rewards of God within the living of your days. In your relationships with the people around you, in the facing of those who challenge you and those who disagree with you and those who try to do hard things. I've been through a lot of that myself. I've actually had superiors that tried to destroy my career at one point. It was because of jealousy that had happened years before, and they never forgot it. And when they had the opportunity to try to ruin me, they did. It was hard going through that, but it wasn't that was more important to me. What was important to me is being faithful through the middle of it. What was important to me was trying to have hope through the middle of it and realizing what they were doing and not falling down to their level. Not going down and responding, not being a part of that, not reinforcing it. They try to do stuff and get in your way. They do it in church, they do it in town, they do it in work, they do it all around you. They do it in the social groups and the community groups and all that kind of stuff. It's all around you. What you want to do is be impervious to it. And you can be so by not allowing it to get to you. Because of greater value to you is how can I be? How do I face this? How do people who are around me, people that I care about, see me in the midst of that challenge? See me in the midst of that crisis. See how I hold on to my hope. See how I still am kind and good, how I don't respond in kind to the evil, and I don't allow the evil to destroy my spirit or my hope. I don't allow the evil to destroy who I am. And I'm not talking about me now. I'm talking about you. This is how you can be victorious through it all. We're still here after all the problems we've had, all the conflicts that we've had to endure, all the challenges we've had to face, all the changes we've had to make. We are still here, and there is still good all around us. And for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, we can celebrate that even in our most fearful times, even in the most challenging times, even in the most uncertain of times. Because no matter what's happening around me, God and Christ and my dear ones are in here with me, and I need not be afraid. That, I think, is what Easter is all about. The victory of Jesus over the grave is a reassurance to all of us that we can make it through all of this, and he is with us through it all, and we will be victorious. And like the guy who screws up once in a while, I think all of us do, this day you will be with me in paradise. That's the promise of Easter. Well, that's enough from the preacher. Let's bring the music back. That's what we're here for, right? Let's bring Gregg back up and listen to another start of his wonderful music.
Make it a point when I do these evenings to stay away from a lot of songs I write about bad people, doing bad things and having bad things happen to them. But I'm going out of that a little bit tonight. I have this song that I really like that I wrote not too long ago called These Highways. It's about a guy that just needs, let's just say he needs to get away from it all. These highways I drive on are meant to take folks a long distance, with limits that keep other drivers from going too fast. But I'm running away from some issues I had in El Paso, and if I stayed one more day, it would sure be my last. You might say that my dealings were way more than just a bit sketchy. Done things in El Paso they said I shouldn't do. So I hit the road and I crossed the state line in short order, headed to Tulsa where there were some people I knew. These highways are long, these highways are wide. I hope that they'll take me to some place that I can hide. Well, I did not know I was no longer welcomed in Tulsa, as I caught wind that my sins had been signaled ahead. So north on 404 to St. Louis, where I thought I'd lose them. Didn't stay long, hearing there's still a price on my head. These highways are long, these highways are wide. I hope that they'll take me to some place that I can hide. Now before I could start up the car and head north of the border, a 100 state troopers and sharpshooters were put into place. My time on the run would cease when those police restored order. And back in El Paso came word was the end of the chase. Those highways were long, those highways were wide, but they did not take me to some place that I could hide. I could hide. I could hide. I'm gonna pass on this next one, and I'm gonna do one I was warming up with because people wondered why I wasn't doing that tonight, so I'm gonna do it. A little blues for a change. I know Greg's a big fan of blues, so I'm not gonna do Come Into My Kitchen, but I'll do this one. The sign says, beware of dog. His bark's worse than his bite. No, wait. His bite's worse than its bark. It's important to get that right. Beware that mean old dog. He's sure to leave a mark. Now you know why. Been tied up such a long time, but that rope is wearing thin. And he ain't gonna let you in. The sign says, beware of dog. Don't try and toss him a bone. No bone will ever keep him away from protecting his home. Just turn around, leave him alone. Just turn around, son. Leave that mean old dog alone. The sign says, beware of dog. Better heed that good advice. He's on duty every morning, every noon and every night. Before you get too near, think twice. Yeah, before you get too near, you better think twice. Yeah, I think he caught your scent, so just keep on walking. You don't want none of that. Beware of dog. Last week I was in Nashville, and so it's a little joke to myself that I like to say while I was down there. Pulled out my phone and sang a little bit into it, and that made me a Nashville recording artist. I've always heard that term, and I used to be impressed by it, but now I find that anybody that just goes into any studio down there and cuts something is a Nashville recording artist. Nashville is an interesting town. I don't know if anybody here has ever been to Nashville or not. It's, I think, the loudest city I've ever been in. Certainly on Broadway, where all the clubs are and everything. And but it occurred to me that there are so many bands and there are so many people and acts that are trying to hit it big, but there's so much competition to do so. And so on the plane ride on the way home, I started writing down lyrics about my impressions about what I came away with and my thoughts about Nashville. And so I came up with this song, wrote the chords just a couple days ago for this. Front facades wide open, drawing hopefuls to the lights, while failures sit on sidewalks, giving up on words that rhyme. Young girls and older mothers, all dressed about the same. Like bar bands that compete here, they're just looking for some fame. The cries for some attention can't be heard above the din, but some will risk it all for just one shot at a hit. They shoot for fame and fortune, almost all will leave in tears. 500 acts in this cruel town, making noises no one hears. Never a quiet evening on these Music City streets. There's that same old song again and its tired, familiar beat. And the cover bands all do their best to drown each other out, faking all they need to find success is playing loud. And the cries for some attention can't be heard above the din, but some will risk it all for just one shot at a hit. They shoot for fame and fortune, almost all will leave in tears. 500 acts in this cruel town, making noises no one hears. The dreams of being discovered by some record man is something in the master plan of every single band. And the cries for some attention can't be heard above the din, but some will risk it all for just one shot at a hit. They shoot for fame and fortune, almost all will leave in tears. 500 acts in this cruel town, making noises no one hears. This is another one of those songs that I had a lot of fun writing. There's a bluegrass guy named Billy Strings. If you haven't heard of him, hear of him. He's probably one of the best guitar players I've ever seen in my life. But he has a song about being pulled over after on his way to going fishing one day, and it's just a really cute song. It's only 2 minutes long. It's amazing. He tells a great story in 2 minutes. And it inspired me to write this song called Over the Limit. And we'll just see where this goes. It was a bright, clear day. Things were going my way. Headed into town back from the lake. Spent the whole day just casting bait, making sure I didn't get home too late. Flashing lights behind me when I turned to take a look. Allegheny County's finest was on my tail. I was glad to see is my old pal Jeremy. I figured at least I won't end up in jail. 'Cause I was over the limit, that's what I'm living for. Over the limit, sometimes my life's a blur. I'm over the limit, never doing less than more. Over the limit, I'll be there, that's for sure. He says, howdy son, I hate to be the one to tell you you're going way too fast. And from the look of those red eyes, I wouldn't be surprised if you had a few more than one more class. I knew he was right, and I couldn't deny it. I was pushing my luck out on that road. It wasn't the first time, won't be the last, and things got a little out of control. I was over the limit, that's what I'm living for. Over the limit, sometimes my life's a blur. I'm over the limit, never doing less than more. Over the limit, that's where I'll be for sure. Saw the bucket in the back with a few too many bass. And he said, you know, you can only take home but 10. Even though he's friends, he pulled out his pad and pen, paused before jotting down my sentence. Thought he'd let it slide until he moved to the other side. He saw her sitting on the passenger seat. He looked at me and grinned and said, this ain't your girlfriend. Guess you've gone over the limit once again. I was over the limit, that's what I'm living for. Over the limit, my life's a blur. I'm over the limit, never doing less than more. Over the limit, I'll be there, that's for sure. I got one more for you. It's a song I've been playing around with a lot. I never could get the chord progression the way I wanted it. The intro now, if any of you here were ever fans of Chicago, the band Chicago, you might recognize this opening chord progression that leads us into the song. It's called Rebirth. Shadow falls behind me as I move toward the sun, away from all the darkness, toward better days to come. Grass green as I remember, skies blue as once before, waters clear and gentle, one couldn't ask for more. I faced a million troubles, did not always succeed. At times the chains that bound me kept me from being free. But now those days are over, I'm setting a new course, where happiness replaces life of anger and remorse. I found my way there, I'm headed home. I'm starting over to where I belong. I found my heaven right here on earth. I have been given a second chance, a second chance, a rebirth. No one sees it coming when a fall from grace appears. No one has an answer to replace all of those years. It's up to me to turn around, walk the long road back, find my true salvation before the final act. Rocky roads I've traveled took me so far away. Some things in life never should be unpacked. I had to find a place to turn around and run off the beaten path, but I made it back. I found my way there, I'm headed home. I'm starting over to where I belong. I found my heaven right here on earth. I have been given a second chance, a second chance, a rebirth. Thank you.
It's Gregg Stone, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next week right here at the Steamworks Spirit Station.